His band members were beside me, and they were all carrying the same hairstyle as myself. And at that point, I was like, maybe it's because I look like one of the bandmen. That's why I moved. So I just moved to a different chair and sat down. And still, none of these girls came. Then eventually, one started walking towards me. Beautiful girl from Ethiopia. Her name was Sarah. Beautiful girl. So I started walking towards me because I was standing next to a vending machine. So at some point I was like, maybe she wants to come and take a bottle of Coke. So just wait, don't be too happy. And she came and she passed the vending machine and she was walking towards me. And at that point I was like, thank God. Now, even though I shouldn't be thanking God for that kind of thing that's about to happen, but who else am I supposed to thank? I can't thank devil that I'm about to sleep. So she walked up to me and she was like, how you doing? Great performance, very funny. Are you going for the after party? I was like, no, I'm going to the hotel to sleep. And she was like, oh, what hotel? I said, the Hilton. She's like, yeah, so what's going on there? I said, nothing, just going back to sleep. She's like, don't you want to do something? And my mind, I was like, oh, shit. This is actually happening. That was my first groupie ever in my life. This girl was looking so beautiful. And she was like, I could take you to the hotel. My house is not far from the hotel. I'm like, yeah. So I told Bayo, I'll see you later. So about to leave, the girl was like, so excuse me, what hotel is Flavor staying? I'm like, yeah, the same hotel. And she was like, what room? I said, yeah, that's like 2 rooms away from mine. She's like, okay, Bright, the thing is I actually want to be with Flavor. So I wanted to see if you could help me talk to Flavor. So the man was like, wait, so this girl came to me to talk to Flavor so Flavor could sleep with her. At that point, I was so mad. I was like, what the fuck? I used to swear, what the fuck is that? And she was like, so just calm down, calm down. What I'm trying to say is, if you can let Flavor sleep with me, I will sleep with you. I said, yeah, that's what you would say. I don't know. So I went and I called Flavor. So that was what happened the first show out here. Flavor took my shine. And that's the reason why I came alone. No musician ever again any of my shows. I'm doing my shows alone henceforth. But I'm so happy that we have some white people out here. Welcome. Thank you so much for coming out to watch me perform. You know, we don't get to, like, you know, you guys, I know you people have been hanging around with a lot of Africans. Now, let me tell you something about Africans that you might not have noticed. But Africans, we ask you questions that we know the answers to. We know the answer. We can see the answer right there in front of us. But for funny reason, we will still ask you. Like right here, just now, when I was walking in, the Nigerian guy said, yay, basket! So you're here. So when they ask me those stupid questions, do what I do. Give them a sarcastic answer. I say, no, I'm in my room, I'm sleeping. They do that a lot. Nigerians are the only people that are always in a hurry just to be late. I'm telling you, there are some of them here, they bought tickets 2 months ago. They are still on their way here for some funny reason. Nigerians are always so much in a hurry. But nothing, like, and Nigerians are unique. Do you understand? Nigerians, like I was saying, we ask you questions. Like one time, I was traveling from Lagos. I was going to Accra, Ghana. And the pilot was standing by the foot of the aircraft. He saw me. He's like, hey, how you doing, Basketball? You're a great comedian. Nice to meet you. I said, yeah, thank you. Nice to meet you, too. I said, great. So, can I take a picture with you? I said, right, we took a picture. He said, so, sir, so you're flying with us? I said, yes, I'm flying with your airline. So where are you flying to? They throw those kind of questions at you. Nigerians, they throw those kind of questions. I don't know if it's just me, but you know that Nigerians, I don't know if you guys have been reading the news, but there are a lot of people, a lot of suicide, a lot of Nigerians have been committing suicide recently. I don't know if you've heard. The Nigerians, have you heard? No. Oh, you've not? Check out the internet, trust me. A lot of Nigerians are committing suicide. They said they have depression. Now, for all the Nigerians here, look, don't ever open your mouth to tell me that you have depression. Look, That's our lifestyle. Like, that is us. The white people, you guys should even stop saying that you've got depression. Why are you depressed? You've got lights. You've got power. You've got good roads. You've got a good economy. Why do you want to kill yourself? Why would you want to kill? We Africans, we are the ones that should kill ourselves. I'm telling you. And you hear Nigerians committing suicide and you think it's cool. No, trust me, I don't believe in all those stories. When you hear a Nigerian man committed suicide, it's a lie. It's a lie. He's actually in debt. He faked his death. That's why you hear that someone committed suicide in Abuja, then they saw his spirit, his ghost in Lagos. That's not his ghost, that's him. He just relocated. He moved from here to there. I'm telling you, Nigerians do not kill ourselves for no reason because we are wired to survive. So when you hear that Nigerians are suicide bombers, that's a lie. Nigerians, we love life so much that if a Nigerian man loses his whole entire life savings, he will go like, man, don't worry, tomorrow is going to be better. That's what Nigerians do. So when you hear, oh, a Nigerian man committing suicide to kill himself, now, first of all, that transaction, yeah, there's a transaction there. Those people that commit suicide, they do it for virgins, right? That's what they say. You get virgins in heaven. Whatever the negotiation was. Yeah? Before it was 15 virgins, then it was 17, then it was 20, now I think it's about 22. Who negotiates that virgin numbers with God? I don't know. But whatever it is, Nigerians, we know how to bargain. So there's no way that if Osama had been alive and he wanted to convince a black Nigerian man to commit suicide, Mohammed, take this bomb, go blow the British embassy, I'll give you 20 virgins in heaven. A Nigerian man will say, fine, no problem. I will blow the British embassy for 20 virgins, fine. Can you give me 5 of those virgins now? Let me just see them. Let me try and see if I'm convinced. You are always negotiating. Nigeria, no, trust me. It's impossible. You know, and that's the funny thing. Like, when I see the white kids, yeah, the way they treat people, train your kids, is so amazing. Like, I saw a kid talk to his mom. He shouted back at his mom, "Mom! Shut up, Mom!" And he survived. And I was so amazed. I was like, wow, you guys are so amazing. He talked back to his parents. I was like, I want that toy, Mom. And he left. I was like, how? In my family, back there, when I'm from a poor family, my dad beats us in advance. Like, he is going out. He knows we're going to fuck shit up. So he comes, hey, Dad, what's that for? Just in case. I know you guys are going to fuck up just in case. My parents were different. You see the white people like go stand at the naughty corner. So you just go there and stand for 30 minutes and that's your punishment. Oh! And you people tell your kids what the punishment is going to be. So they are not surprised. If you do that, Jake, if you do that one more time, you're going to be grounded. No more PlayStation for you. And they know the punishment. So they have to make a choice whether they will do it or they won't do it. In Nigeria, your parents will never tell you what the punishment is. They start to tell you and they stop. And they let you use your imagination. They go like, today, have I not warned you? No, you want to do it? Go ahead, do it. Just do it, do it. Go, no, go and do it. So at that point you're like, no, I'm not doing it. It's crazy, man. The world is so crazy right now. Everything is madness. You know, America fighting Russia. You know, is this South Korea? Yeah. It's them, right? No. It's North Korea, right? Which one of those speaking? Yeah, Kim Jong. Yeah, that guy is crazy, man. That guy is fighting the world right now. He's doing crazy stuff. Now the world is at war. You know, Israel doing their own thing, Pakistan, Iraq, and all these countries fighting, and they fight over land, fight over power, relevance. Do you understand? Oil, Nigeria. We are fighting Ghana over jollof rice. how did we fall short of the glory of the universe that we are fighting another country over the taste of food? Which one is better? We should be ashamed of ourselves. Who cares if the jollof rice is sweeter? If I'm hungry, I don't want to be hungry anymore. Whatever I eat, however it tastes, I don't care. You know, and you know, Africans, we're all the same. Whether you're from Zambia, Gambia, anywhere, the food is the same as far as I'm concerned. Do I have any person here from Ghana? All right, good. How much is the ticket? Why is it? Why it can't be that bad. Anybody from Zambia? One. Okay, that's not bad. South Africa? No, those ones they don't travel. No, actually, South Africans they don't travel. South Africa is like, it's like here. You have white people. A lot. I think what makes South Africa way more advanced than every other African country is because of the people that colonized them didn't leave early. They stayed. They just left like some years ago. We chased them too quick. That's what happened to our country. Like if we had waited, we had let the British people stay till like 1990. Trust me, and yeah, we would have had snow. But for funny reason, white people they just bring that stuff. South Africa they have snow. No, white people they call this touch. And trust me, we are all saying all this crap about white people they came to take slaves. Look, guys, now 2018. If three big ships come to Lagos, one is going to America, carrying slaves to America, one to London, then one maybe to Belgium. I swear, you will find space. My wife will meet me on the ship. Only yes. Let's stop talking about this crap. People say, Nigerians, you should come back home. Come back home and build your country. Shut the fuck up. Which country? And you know, it's only the people that they've deported that goes like, there's no place like home. Oh, you didn't know before you left, right? So like, they're like, come back. And every time there's a plane that is deporting about 270 people and they come back to Nigeria, Nigerians are always quick to insulting those guys. Yeah, yes, good for you. Come back home. Like if you have your opportunity, you won't go. That's crazy. And you guys are saying, come back home. First of all, we claim that we have 200 million Nigerians in Nigeria. The last time they did census was about like 15 years ago. So which means we don't even know the number that we have. Nigerians, we might be about like 300-400 million people in that country. And you are saying every Nigerian, like, so you people want to come back. So everybody from Antwerp, now Brussels, you will come back. It will be about like 600 million people in Lagos alone. That's why you see people moving. Excuse me. And this is not on the street. This is Third Mainland Bridge. And you see people in clubs. They can't dance again. They just be nodding your head. Oh boy, this club is banging, man. So stop wishing for much. And people talk about, there's no power, there's no electricity in Nigeria. Come on, guys. We talk about this thing, there's no electricity. Do you know what it means for you to be earning 50,000 naira, which is roughly about like 300? 100 euros. Wow. Is it 100 euros? So imagine you're earning 100 euros a month and you're fighting for steady power supply, and the power supply for standard steady power supply is 20,000 naira. What are you going to eat? So when you fight for these things, first of all, make sure your hustle is in check. Do you understand? Because at the end of the day, we Nigerians are talking like, they should give us steady power supply. When they give you steady power supply, you won't be able to afford it. That's why you see Nigerians calling the power company. Excuse me. Hello? Yeah, how much is low current? Yeah, I don't want the full current. Just give me half. I just need like to sleep. I just need to sleep. Yeah. It's crazy. You guys talk about these things, like, when you look at these guys, the white people, there's a structure, right? There's a structure. And when you look at the technology, these guys have it way above us. But Nigerians, whatever we do, we want to take it to the extreme. Like, for instance, this telephone thing that just came into the country, everybody now, like my wife does not trust me for a second. That's why I love the good old days when if you tell your wife, I'm going to work, you are going to work. She can't find out where you are. Now I tell my wife, babe, I'm in a show. So take a picture of the crowd. You come and maybe if I'm in a hotel room, I'll start looking for a show that is happening. It's crazy, and I tell people most times, look, I'm not a saint. Yeah, I'm not a saint. So my guys, my friends, the guys here, if you, in case you want to cheat on your wife, which is not right, just in case you fall for that temptation, do yourself a favor, guys. Just do not go to a girl's house and do whatever you do and say you want to sleep and take a short nap for 5 minutes. Don't do that. Just stand up and leave. Because you sleep for a while. It happened to me, and I'll tell you point blank. It's a true story. When I fell for temptation intentionally. And went to the hotel room with this girl. Beautiful girl. Woke up around, I said, this was like midnight. I said, let me just sleep for like 15 minutes. And I woke up about 5 a.m. Woke up to about like 57 missed calls from my wife. And about like 12 from my friend Bucci and like 8 from Bovie. For the girls, let me tell you, let me give you an advice. Whenever you try to reach your boyfriend or your husband and you can't reach him, don't bother calling his friends. They won't pick up. They won't. What they will do is that they will call you first. If he doesn't pick up, they will pick your call. So don't bother calling them because they won't give you any information. So what I did, I knew I was in trouble, but as a smart guy, what did I do? This was 5 a.m., 57 missed calls. I knew I was in trouble. So what I did, I have a friend that's a doctor. I asked him, dude, who are you? He said he was in the hospital. I said, dude, I'm coming over. Got to the hospital, I thought, dude, admit me. He gave me another private room, put oxygen. Tell the dude, call my wife, come on. It works, trust me, it works. Your wife will come there crying, oh my God. If you can't do that, go to the police station. Just do it. Get yourself arrested. For the black people, that shouldn't be a difficult task. Just walk. With a backpack. But it's true. You know, I felt, oh, by the way, I need to say hi to, with time. Hi, how you doing, man? How you doing? You're from here? You're Belgian? So this guy invited you. Yeah, thank you very much. You're not Nigerian.
No.
Definitely. You're from Sudan.
Oh, no. It starts with an S, but not Sudan.
You're Sierra Leone, same thing. How you doing, man? Yeah, thanks to your brother. How long have you been here? How long have you been living here?
Since 04.
Since 04. Have you been back home since you came? Don't worry. Give me just stay, please. You know, the funny thing is, like, well, I tell guys most times, see, when you see a black guy following a white girl, don't hate. All right, stop hating your fellow brothers that are following white women. Yeah, just take it easy. They don't do it only for love. And they don't do it for papers either. All right. They're for money. Trust me, if I had a chance, I would date a white woman or marry a white woman. It's economical. It means you're never going to buy hair for the rest of your life. Like, if I was married to my Oga, you know how much you spend, like every month. If you're married to a white woman, the only thing you're spending money on is shampoo. That's it. So guys, let's stop here. Now, I've been to Belgium several times. I don't know if I don't know how you guys came through. I came through. They stamped me in. So, come, let's take. No. We're not here to check your immigration status. I don't care about. But I swear to heavens. But you know that at the embassy, where you find Nigerians, well behaved. It's at the embassy. They are so polite. Nigerians. No, I know you know. Nigerians are very loud, right? Very, very vocal. Oh, what's wrong with it? Not at the embassy. You walk in. Hi, good evening. Where? Not 3 seats, sir. And that's the envy of one bank, not even. It's crazy. You know, and this thing, we're trying to get visa. Donald Trump is going to fortune very soon. Americans, I know they are scared. Americans are scared right now. They know. They never knew that guy was going to win. Even him, he didn't know he was going to win. The guy is in shock right now. I'm still waiting for Steve Harvey to give us the right result. I'm hoping that he will come and say he made a mistake. It's crazy. That guy is so crazy. The guy wants to fight everybody. He has time for Twitter. He's always tweeting. And you will know that he will blow up any country that fucks with him. You know. And that's the reason why I bet you Pentagon, CIA, FBI, all those guys, they didn't give Donald Trump the right nuclear code. They didn't give him. I'm telling you. And he can't complain because they'll ask him, how did you know? That guy doesn't have the right nuclear code. I swear down. And they're there, the Americans, they're talking about gun violence. Are you kidding me? Over 33,000 people died from gun violence just last year. Over 100,000 people got injured. That's just 1 year. And you're still talking about it's easy to stop the gun violence in America. You have the social security number of everybody. Right? Simple. You know the amount they bought it at the time they bought it. Give them back the money, retrieve the guns. Simple. You don't have to it's a law already. You know, everybody can, but you have to increase the amount of the guns and the amount of the bullet. Let it not be accessible by everybody. That means only people that can afford it will be able to kill people. Yeah, make the guns like $250,000 and the bullets like $25,000. So one bullet for $25,000, dude, if you get killed, then you deserved it. If someone invested $50,000 for your death, no. What did you do? Then you see some Americans working like 5 jobs just to afford to kill somebody. You ask them, dude, why the fuck, why are you working so hard? Man, nigga, man, you won't believe what the fuck that nigga did to me. Nigga, just wait, 3 more years, you're dead, bitch. I'll kill you, 3 more years, just wait, let me just walk. Trust me, it's gonna end. These guys are there talking crap. Oh, gun violence, gun violence. And the funny thing is, the same thing. They label people, like most of the time you go to the States, you think that everywhere is dangerous. No, not everywhere. Like, you travel around. The same thing in Nigeria. People think that every part of Nigeria is dangerous, but no, it's not like that. People think that, if you come to Abuja or if you come to Lagos, you're a suicide bombers. No. I've been living in Lagos. I'm going to be 40 this year. I've never experienced anything like that. Lagos is safe, right? Like, trust me. I'm not trying to sell Lagos to you right now. But Lagos is safe the same way certain areas is safe in different countries. South Africa, people say, South Africa is nice. They have their own guys that, you do the shit. People say, Nigerians, we are a terrorist nation. How? Why? Because of you heard? That's what people. Do you know that? I actually respect Osama bin Laden because that guy, the power for you to be able to convince another man to go and kill himself, that's power. Pope cannot convince me. That is the Pope. Personally, one-on-one, he can't convince me. Even a bomb is too much. Maybe like a firecracker or something. I still won't blow that shit. Like, I don't care. We love life too much. The Pope cannot convince me. I don't know how the Pope speaks in real life, but let's imagine it goes like, Basketball. The Lord told me to tell you to kill yourself for the world. I will say, Pope. Are you sure God told you to tell me to kill myself? The Pope will say, yes. I say, Pope, let God tell me by himself. God will have to tell me directly to kill myself. But what the? I know Nigerians will love life too much. That's why sometimes when I board an aircraft and those air hostesses come to me and go like, excuse me, sir, excuse me, sir, please, you can't put your bag at this point, this is the exit row, you can't put your bag there, you have to put it at the overhead compartment. The first thing the lady asked me that thing and told me that thing, I was like, why? Why should I take my bag? Or just a small bag? She said, sir, you have to put your bag at the overhead compartment. And I started thinking, so this lady is telling me that if this plane crash lands and the exit door opens up, the small bag will stop the 220 Nigerians in this aircraft from leaving. Like you're telling me now that a Nigerian man is about to run away from fire and he will see that bag and go like, oh shit! Who kept this bag here? Now we are going to die. It's impossible. So now I don't understand. It's crazy. It's crazy. And I see you guys here in Belgium. You guys are, you know, when I came the last time, it was at night. I think the flight landed about like 5 a.m. I saw the lights. You guys have lights on your runway. I'm not talking about Nigeria. Nigeria, we're all right. We're all right. There are some countries in Africa, they don't have lights on their runway. If you want to land during the daytime. If you hang around and stay past 7 p.m., you see the pilot. I've been on an aircraft, a very small aircraft. I swear that aircraft was so small, they didn't have a seat belt. We had to hold hands. No jokes. We're about to land. The pilot didn't even have the mic stop. He just turned back and said, hey, we're about to land. Hold yourself. And he didn't even use them because it was night, so he had to call the control. He couldn't see the control. He didn't see the landing crap. There's no light, no runway. It was dark, so he had to make a phone call. Hello. Yeah, this is pilot. Oh, I've passed. Oh shit. Oh, I turned back, eh? Okay, I'm turning back now. I'm turning back. Okay, I can see the. Yeah, oh, okay, I turn left. You know what? I'm out of call time. Can you call me back? Crazy, man. And then for instance, that's one thing. Why is it that the stereotype of every Nigerian, every African man in any movies always like that? Hey, my friend. No, there's no, I don't talk like that. I don't say, hey, excuse me, everybody. Yes, come on. But there's some accent though. There are some people that have like the South Africans. South Africans, they have that very Zimbabweans. All those ones, they have, you know, the very thick African accent. Nigerians, we are the ones that are, you know, we are just in between. But, you know, typical South African person, oh shit, those guys. Oh, my brother. Hello. How are you? Like, how are you doing? Like, it's like the way they talk. Like, even when Mandela died, that was why in CNN, they should beat those guys. CNN, they were interviewing people that didn't have anything to do with man. They interviewed the first person that took a picture of Mandela when he left Robben Island, when he left the prison. He took the man came on CNN to talk about how he took a picture. CNN. And the guy was like, oh, my name is Mobutu. You see, when I was standing over here, I saw this great man walking from there. And I was wondering, oh, who is this great Madiba walking? And I saw him and I knew it was him, Madiba, and I brought my camera and I took a picture, and that's the picture you're seeing right here. And that was the interview. That is it. Then they interviewed the first person that Mandela bought a loaf of bread from. I'm not making this shit up. It's online. They interviewed the first person that he bought bread from. And the guy was like, oh, my name is Seppo. You see, I was in my shop and the great Madiba walked in and he bought a loaf of bread. The bread was 30 rands and he gave me 100 rands and said I should keep the change. And that's when I knew he would bring change to South Africa. You came up with that joke. It's crazy. Things change. Things change the world. When Mandela died, when Michael Jackson died, when things, like everything that comes out or anything that goes out just changed. Like when the telecoms came into the system, shit. That thing brought people together, but at the same time, it put people apart. I'm telling you, the phone has caused more breakup than anything else ever. But we don't know. And right now, you'll know the people that are cheaters. The people that cheat by the way they unlock their phones. It's simple. Can you use the swipe phones like the Samsung, the Android, the ones you use the swipe? It's easy to know. If a guy does not have a girlfriend outside the relationship, when he wants to unlock his phone, Easy. It's unlocked. If he has like 1 or 2 girlfriends, then you know that there's maybe 1 or 2. When it's like 3 or 4, when it's like 5, 6 and above, those ones you will know them. When you tell them, excuse me, can I use your phone? You're like, 1 second. You will not use a fingerprint. Still unlock it with finger. What are you hiding from? What are you hiding? I did not know that my wife knew my password until the day I changed it. Early morning, I changed it at night, say about like 1 a.m. About like 7 a.m. she woke up angry. Throwing things on the floor. I said, baby, are you okay? She said, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. I just don't like the way things are changing in this house. What changed? Why is she so violent? Now I've got a wife with 2 daughters with a son for now. 2 beautiful girls, which is the reason why I'm so protective. Like I look around the world and I see what the world is turning into, and I see that I have 2 beautiful daughters, and I have to protect these girls. You know, because everything now is just so crazy. You know, back then sex used to be sacred. When people talk about sex, it used to be something that people hide to talk about sex. If a girl sleeps with another guy, if you ask the girl, so how was it? You're like, come on. Used to be shy. Girls used to be shy to talk about their sexual experience with another man. But right now, 2018, ask the girl, so how was it? He was like, can you imagine? No respect. I have 2 daughters, and I know that all these things do happen. They are young, beautiful girls. So I protect them now. Like I don't even let my daughters. Yeah, I don't let my daughters. I don't let them eat like, you know, banana. Like a full banana. Like for them to take a banana and peel it and take it from there. Baby, just cut it into small pieces. Eh? Don't ever see, don't ever eat it. Get used to this shit. Don't ever. Because it's crazy. And it's the white people. You people. You guys ruin it. Back then, sex used to be normal. Now, it's like sports. And you people now came up with, and the women have it to themselves right now. Girls, they have everything. Men, we have